It's 10 trivia questions on former U.S. President Franklin Pierce for Patreon subscriber Donald Fuller. This is Trivia with Buds. What it be, and welcome to another episode of the Trivia with Buds podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Buds. Thanks for checking out the show and having some fun with me. Today is a very historical episode of the show, all about our 14th president, Franklin Pierce. So this is going to be a ton of fun, and I think you'll have a good time if you love history, much like my wife, who's a big fan of Civil War history. This is creeping up on that time period. And she would probably nail all these questions. I will have to quiz her on these later because she doesn't listen to the show. I've asked her before, you ever listen to the podcast? She goes, no, when would I have time to do that? And that's true. Our kids are a handful, and I got a handful of trivia questions. Before we get into Franklin Pierce, here's 3 warm-up questions from Trivial Pursuit. Here's the first one. What nickname for Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez was coined by Dogma director Kevin Smith? The answer is Bennifer. Bennifer. And now, hey, look at this. 20 years later, back together. Next question. What hip-hop songstress was the first artist since the Beatles to have 3 simultaneous top 10 Billboard hits? Ooh, a name I have not heard in a while. Ashanti. Ashanti. And the last one here, what Disney movie gave Donny Osmond a chance to belt out, I'll make a man out of you? Donny Osmond, I'll make a man out of you. What Disney movie? That, of course, is Mulan. Let's get down to business is the beginning of that song. And hey, let's get down to business with some Franklin Pierce trivia for Donald Fuller. Here we go. All right, it's Franklin Pierce. Let's see what you know. Question number 1. In what war did Franklin Pierce fight starting in 1847? Question number 1. In what war did Franklin Pierce fight starting in 1847? Question number 2. During the election of 1852, what former boss did Pierce beat to become president? Hint, his nickname was Old Fuss and Feathers. Number 2, during the election of 1852, what former boss did Pierce beat to become president? Hint, his nickname was Old Fuss and Feathers. Question number 3 for Franklin Pierce. Pierce delivered his entire inaugural speech from memory, the first president to do so. How many words was the speech? Around 1,000, around 2,000, or around 3,000 words? Question number 3. Pierce delivered his entire inaugural speech from memory, the first president to do so. How many words was it? 1, 2, or 3,000? Question number 4. Under Pierce, in 1854, the U.S. purchased almost 30,000 square miles of territory that later became which 2 southwestern U.S. states? Number 4. Under Pierce, in 1854, the U.S. purchased almost 30,000 square miles of territory that later became which 2 southwestern U.S. states? Question number 5, the author of The Scarlet Letter wrote a biography about his friend Franklin Pierce. Who was this author? Number 5, the author of The Scarlet Letter wrote a biography about his friend Franklin Pierce. Who was the author? Question number 6, in what northeastern state was Pierce born? In what northeastern state was Pierce born? Number 6. Number 7, Pierce's wife Jane had the maiden name of a Wisconsin city. What Wisconsin city was it? Number 7, Pierce's wife Jane had the maiden name of a Wisconsin city. What city was it? Number 8, Pierce's youngest son died at age 11 in what kind of accident? Number 8, Pierce's youngest son died at age 11 in what kind of accident? Question number 9, at Pierce's request, Secretary of War Jefferson Davis helped build what Washington, D.C. monument? Number 9, at Pierce's request, Secretary of War Jefferson Davis helped build what Washington, D.C. monument? And number 10, the Pierce cabinet featured no vice president for much of his run, but he had one in early 1853 at the start of his run. Who was the vice president? Number 10, who was Pierce's first vice president? Bonus question for 2 points to close out this round on Franklin Pierce. To what city did Pierce return and eventually die in 1869? To what city did Pierce return and eventually die in 1869? Those are all your questions on President Franklin Pierce for Donald Fuller. We'll be right back with the answers after this. We are back with the answers to Franklin Pierce trivia, someone I knew very little about before reading and researching all these things for today. So thank you, Donald, for picking this topic. You should be like Donald and pick a topic too for $5 or more a month on the Patreon page, patreon.com/trivia with buds. Donald has some great picks for future episodes. Let's see what he's got here. He's got Franklin Pierce, The Masked Singer. Oh, my kids will love that episode. They'll have to help me write the questions. New England Patriots, movies filmed in New Hampshire, Ninja Sex Party, a band, Dirty Jobs, BattleBots, The Food Network, Mall Stores, Bobo. I don't know what that is, but it's an anime. Probably said it wrong. SCP, Secure, Contain, Protect. Don't know what that is. And Wait, Don't Tell Me. I know most of those things, but we'll have fun researching many more things I don't know for Donald Fuller. Our most, I'm going to say, colorful topics picked on the chart so far. Chris Arneson's got Barbecue, the TV show MASH, Baltimore, Trailer Park Boys, Ready Player One, the book. Dean Bratton had animals, more animals, TV and movies, history, sports, news, and politics, so a little bit more general. But it's up to you. If you're a Patreon subscriber, you can get real general or real specific. And thanks again, Donald. Here are the answers to Franklin Pierce. Number 1, in what war did Franklin Pierce fight starting in 1847? Mexican-American War. Number 2, during the election of 1852, what former boss did Pierce beat to become president? This was Old Fuss and Feathers, Winfield Scott. Number 3, Pierce delivered his entire inaugural speech from memory, 3,000 words, around 3,000 words. Number 4, under Pierce in 1854, the U.S. purchased almost 30,000 square miles of territory that later became what 2 southwestern U.S. states, New Mexico and Arizona. Number 5, the author of The Scarlet Letter wrote a biography about his friend Franklin Pierce. Who was this author? Nathaniel Hawthorne, lifelong friends from college. Number 6, in what northeastern state was Pierce born? New Hampshire. And since New Hampshire is on Donald's list of topics for a couple months down the road for movies filmed in New Hampshire, I'm guessing Donald lives there or grew up there or just loves the state of New Hampshire. Number 7, Pierce's wife, Jane, had the maiden name of a Wisconsin city, Appleton. Jane Appleton, Wisconsin. Number 8, Pierce's youngest son tragically died in a train accident at age 11, and it was right before his inauguration. So he had to give that speech from memory after just losing his son, and he already had lost his other kids. All 3 of his kids died very young, unfortunately. And his wife blamed that train accident on his presidency and said, this is a curse for you becoming president, and she did not attend the inauguration. That's what I just read. Number 9, at Pierce's request, Secretary of War Jefferson Davis helped build the Washington, D.C. monument. Very easy to figure this one out because it was in the question, the Washington Monument. And number 10, the Pierce cabinet featured no vice president, but initially had William R. King in the role, And the bonus for 2 points, to what city did Pierce return and eventually die in 1869? Concord, New Hampshire. So there you have it, a bunch of facts on Franklin Pierce. Thanks for playing along and having fun with us today. Your fact of the day is not about Franklin Pierce, but about Put a Pillow in Your Fridge Day, which is a holiday celebrated on May 29th in Europe and the U.S. and supposedly brings good luck and wealth to those in the household who put their pillows in the fridge. I'm putting that on my calendar right now. I'm going to freeze up some pillows. And we'll get wealthy. It'll be great. Thanks for listening. Thanks for telling a friend. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time for more Trivia with Buds. Cheers.